What up, my devil? Sensei-tutum here with another video for you. So, didn't do last week's video. Didn't feel too good. Got the jab. Sorry about that. Wanted to do another public video last week just because of the, the PA that we got. But I'm going to go ahead and do another public video this week. Definitely going to talk about Bitcoin. Hopefully Sam's okay with that because I know he does the Bitcoin Friday. But, you guys want to see that one anyway. We're going to also try to cover, depending on how time goes, we'll look at the ES, gold, maybe a couple altcoins, and talk about the market. Before we get started, I wanted to congratulate Discord Trading TDU, Discord student member. Been working on his craft and just recently won the FIMEX, the second FIMEX Traders competition. It's an individual competition event. His name is Maximus here on the screen in front of you. Discord handle FastRav. Yeah, man, he's a beast. Learn a lot. So keep it up, dude. That's a guy that's in my DMs all the time. So it's paying off. All right. So this week I wanted to briefly recap the last time we talked. I don't actually necessarily remember what it was that I had mentioned, but I also wanted to recap what the scenario was laid out as months ago. We're going to actually review a little bit of my February 18th video. But just to recap what my thoughts have been is that we are in a macro 4 here, and whatever would be, potentially associated with that. So, I think in the last video we had, because we showed 5-wave move, 3-wave move, and the potential for a 5-swing count coming into the low of this channel, which could be potentially a finished zigzag. Anytime you get a 5-wave move like that into a base trend channel, I pay attention. I was personally playing this level. I will admit that. But as soon as it broke, I updated the Discord, because quick freebie lesson, since I don't do too many of these videos anyway, I don't feel like I'm giving too much away. Base trend channel is drawn to project the C of a zigzag, but you also use it within impulses. So the way you draw it is you draw the channel. Let's just draw it on what I just drew. You draw the channel from the origin to the 2/B from the 1/A. And I'm saying 1/A, 2/B because as much as you see on Twitter and everywhere else that everybody can predict the future, you can't. So there's always possibilities. And this is why I'm saying a 1/A, right? Because those are two possible counts. So you draw it this way, and a base trend channel, if you get 5 swings into the top of the base trend, and of course a bunch of other things that we'll call confluence factors, you can have what is a high probability relationship for a C wave relative to an A wave. Now, this one didn't exactly hit all of the markers, but it hit plenty of them, right? With a 5-swing move to this, right? There's some other things that we're not going to get into that it didn't necessarily match, but the thing about this is this is great for projecting a zigzag, but once you start breaking out of this and meet some specific conditions as well that we won't get into, then it becomes more likely that this is a 3-wave. So this is useful for an impulse in play and a zigzag. So that's what we're doing here, right? Nothing more, nothing less. While we always had the perspective of, depending on the situation, 4, 5, or, depending on your count. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at you if you did something like this. I couldn't be mad at you. And this is a 4 of some degree, right? So basically, not necessarily super important for this particular video. But let's go ahead and, here, let me pause this music. Let's go ahead and recap what I had said when we talked about where we were going and why it's so nuts to me that people get so fucking caught off guard. Here, let's listen. I don't know how well you guys can hear it, so I'll pause it every second here and give it play-by-play. Matter of fact, as you can see here, We hit the first confluence area for a top already yesterday. So what I'm talking about here is I'm just saying that I'm not calling the top, and I don't know if we're going to hear that in this video, but I know I explicitly said that you know, I'm not calling the top, but we're starting to hit markers, right? So this is back in early February. I was hearing, you know, getting DMs, you know, hearing all these high fucking calls, and I was saying, no, guys, pump your brakes. We won't go down low out of the daily. Not surprised to see that we're showing resistance there, but we do have targets all the way up, well over 100K, right? Now the question will be, what? So there's targets, but you're already starting to hit. It's like kind of like on the way down. I talk about falling through branches. You know, you're hit. How many branches do you hit on the way down until, you know, like you're a cartoon Wile E. Coyote falling out of the tree, and one of them's eventually going to stop you? Well, we were hitting the branches on the way up. What's the count inside here? But it's a macro video. If you want this, you're going to have to get access to everything. So that was just talking about tops. But you guys on YouTube don't exactly. So that's where I'm at. Now, if we take it out of log, you know, what's going to happen when we do retrace? So what's going to happen when it does top, when we do retrace? I think this is going to catch a lot of people off guard, as they always do. Catch you off guard, as it did. Coming back down here in the 30K range. Where did we go so far? Right in this area. And then we go on 4 or 5, wherever that may be. All right, I think that's enough. So what's crazy is, start this music back up. So what's crazy about this is people, I've gotten this question a lot. Well, how does this price action fit into your macro count? Fits fucking beautifully. Not to say that there's not that I'm not unclear, especially on the lower degree here, on a number of degrees, right? Not that I'm not unclear there, but I don't see. Basically, what I'm saying is this was a big ass fuck. This was a big 2. This is a big 2. I'm not, you know, and we just went through, like, you know, this was a nice run, but let's be real. This was 401 bars. Okay, so between 401 bars, so this is the last, it's 21 from 18. So last freaking 3 years, right? In the last 3 years, we have had, this was like an entire year, 200 bars and, oops, 200 bars and 400 bars, 600 bars of up, and 366 bars, and call it another 300. So basically 600 bars up and down in the last 3 years, give or take. A little bit more up than down, which seems weird because this was so fucking long. I might have done that wrong, but say almost 50-50 up and down the last 3 years. So does that feel like the bull run to you? I mean, just looking at this chart, I mean, this is the Coinbase chart, so it doesn't even go back that far. But just this last bull run was over 1,000 bars of up. It's not fucking done, fellas. I know everybody thinks it's done now. Some people say it's over. Some people say that the bottom's in. You know, I'm not confidently saying that, but the bull runs to me is not fucking over. Might be. I could very well be wrong. You know, this is another count we see, and this violates all kinds of guidelines, expectations. It's not very good. Let's just put it that way. If you're an Elliott Wave trader, it's just not. If you're an Elliott Wave trader, you're basically, everything we're doing is fractals, right? And we're trying to glean probable relationships on current price action to glean future price action. So what you want to do is use probable relationships. People always like get into this, like, look, I can count this way and it doesn't violate, so it must be that. I hate to say it, not that I'm saying that people are saying this count. This is their problem. It may be, but that just means that you don't necessarily have if you think like that, well, look at that. This count doesn't violate, and I don't see another count that fits what I do. It's just, it means that you don't necessarily see all the possibilities. Let's put it that way. And if you do see all the possibilities, you would see that doing this is not using Elliott Wave probabilistically. And when I say doing this, I should be a little more clear, because I'm vague. They tell me this is what they're saying, or maybe they're saying this. I don't know what the fuck they're saying with this C, but if you're calling it flat, this is what you would want. I just think it's trash, personally. Not that it couldn't happen, and not that you shouldn't pay attention to it, because anytime you see a 3-wave complete in Elliott Wave, not that I even think that this is necessarily a 3-wave complete, because I feel like this is a 4 at this degree. You could have this as a 4 at this degree. So I feel like this is the count still, right? This is the count that I've had. That's what I think, right? But here it could be this, so it could be a 4 at that degree. Either way, it's a 4, right? So one might take a little longer than the other, and that could very well happen. But anyway, so let's move on to current price action. So just to reiterate, I don't think the bull run is over. Doesn't mean doesn't mean we can't correct for several months, if not longer. As a reminder, like, how long did this one take? Well, of course, depending on if you're calling this correction starting here, it's already been 2 months. But even if you just do it from the high, it's much shorter, less than a month. So this one here was half a month. So depending on where you're starting the correction. So the count the idea that I had, as soon as when we had the 3-wave, like I said, into the base trend, and this is the CME chart. We're going to use the CME. It's a little different than, say, Coinbase, but but this is where price discovery is, and I want to look at this chart for now. Even if you don't trade here, you should definitely pay attention to it. So we broke this, and I showed you about the base trend channel a minute ago. So then I automatically thought wave 3. And I'm not out of that thought, but that would mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this, right? Now, how would this fit? How would this fit? It would fit in that either this is a big 2 here, which I don't think it is at any degree, because it would be A, B, C, something like that. Big zigzag. So this is a possibility. Don't find it to be likely. That's a possibility. Let's look at what we ended on up here. See how we ended, and there's other options for how we ended up here. I'm not going to get into them right now, but there are other options that support what I just showed. But again, if you understand the theory, like, I have a lot of members that do this, and guys that actually know the theory pretty well, and I think they do it for fun, maybe not. And honestly, I think it's, once you know the theory well, I think practicing this way is bad. That they basically try to find every single possibility, because as an exercise, it is, as you're learning, you need to do that, because you need to be able to see the possibilities. But to not sound like an arrogant ass, which I am, I guess, at some degree, I see all the possibilities like pretty quickly. Sometimes they'll elude me a little bit here and there. That definitely happens. But a lot of the times, especially when I stare at a chart like Bitcoin all the fucking time, I see the possibilities. And I'm not going to show you all of them, because, again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to project probable relationships. And, so I'm just going to show you the 1, maybe 2 that are at the top of the list. And, if I'm wrong, usually it's into a scenario that I had seen coming, potentially. So yeah, so we're not going to talk about all of the possibilities. I think that is bad practice. If you're trading that way, I don't know how you could ever I don't know how you could ever take action. And you might always, let's just say that every time you see a chart, you see 10 options. That doesn't mean that every time those 10 options are all the same. Maybe in your head, you know, just placing arbitrary numbers on it. Oh, this option seems 90% likely, which, you know, I never would think that 90% is a confidence in anything. But anyway, this one's 90%. Everything else together is 10. So that's where you sort of scale. Just because you always see multiple possibilities, you sort of scale your confidence in the price going your direction. And a lot of the times where trades are excellent is where price goes in the direction of your trade in multiple scenarios that you see, right? All right, so that's a big ass tangent that didn't need to go down. But Elliott Wave, baby. Hashtag Elliott Wave. That's a lot of good information for free Discord. Anyway, so this scenario for me, if you look, you can see that this finishes on 3 swing move to the high. So, you know, while there are other options where this could be, say, a diag of some sort that supports the other one, I would say I was looking at it more like this potentially as a flat in play. And I'm starting to feel, I'm starting to feel better about this. I posted the day after. I actually shared this account on Twitter for you guys, just because I couldn't do the video last week. And I didn't feel great about it, but I'm starting to feel a little better. Because, you know, if you look, let's get down. Actually, for now, yeah, let's just jump down to the 1 hour. So, again, you break out of the base trend. That makes you think more 3 than C at that point. Probable wave relationships over 161.8. It's an extended wave. Its slope is steeper than the first slope. This is a huge 2, which is a little problematic, right? So then we need to place the temporary channel. See, and this is why I'm using this chart, because it kind of fits the narrative a little better. So we will switch to Coinbase here in a second. This is a minimum projection for a wave 4. It's so crazy to me how few people know this. You know, what's funny is there's a former member that was in our group for a long time and never learned Elliott Wave there, which is nuts, who practices Elliott Wave, who has started shilling a indicator on Twitter that he made. You know, everybody wants to make a buck, whatever. And I thought he learned from us, and I felt bad. So I tried to talk to him about, like, what's your problem? Why do you need this indicator? And he didn't understand channels at all. It's like, if you can't use channels, you can't use Elliott Wave. Just remember that. Anyway, minimum target here. So, you know, back when we hit this, I was thinking, man, to hit that would almost cause a violation. And really, if we look at the lower degree, it still potentially could. So essentially, the way that this is playing out, I'm looking for possibilities where this it seems like we might violate this guy, which is weird. So this is where the indecision comes in for me right now. Are we an impulse in play, or did we just finish some sort of crazy zigzag with an extended C wave, and then we're gonna go into, you know, some sort of scenario that takes us sideways for longer? Or there's a lot of potential scenarios, right? Or that could be a bottom in scenario, right? You wouldn't necessarily think so with this price action, but we have to keep an eye on that, right? So, you know, one of the things that we want to watch are violation here, violation of this level. That would violate our impulse. And of course, we want to see if we make this temporary channel that I just drawn, because that is minimum target for wave 4. We could potentially go down at that point. But then if we get down even further, what's going on here? So could we be in a triangle of some sort? Absolutely, we could. But what we need to be careful about is if this is a B of some sort, or even if this is, you know, this is one possible scenario that seems relatively probable. And then it looks like we could potentially say, so getting closer. And I don't want to talk about all these damn scenarios. Keep talking about all these scenarios and go on and on and on. Sam's gonna do a video for you tomorrow. obviously want to leave something for him to talk about. So I think this is more motive than corrective. So if this is motive, corrective, motive, W, multiple zigzag, X, fits guidelines perfectly. So corrective, if this is a potential, just throwing out a possibility. None of this is high degree, because this could go either way right now, right? But if it's a D waves are the sucker waves, right? But this could go either way. Get down to micro. So, oops. And then let's just say we project from what E would be 1 to 1 up here, 46 range. And that would take us just short of violating, but it would be funky looking impulse at that point. Of course, we do have a giant 2. So, you know, I've got degree of uncertainty. If we do come up and do this, people are going to start getting excited, but we led with this, right? So, not to say that it couldn't be, you know, a leading diag potential part of that. You wouldn't necessarily think to see a sideways B within there. Can happen, but you would really expect to see sharp moves. So I don't know. I'm uncertain. But I will say that my primary idea is still for another low. Now, and I do think that we could either, and I think that in the interim we'll continue on sideways until we hit this level, or break up out of it. And that's okay. You can break out of it. Remember, this is minimum guideline, not maximum. Break up out of it, but you know, it's going to be close to violating this. And if this violates, then then let's say it engages other scenarios. But I would say, to a certain degree, this is still my leading horse in the race. But it's all very not highly certain at the moment. So, but I do want to circle over to, let's just get off that chart because it's dirty. Jump down to 1 hour. So I see a lot of people. Get out of log. Let's go over to 4 hour. I see a lot of people calling for, let's say let's say like mid 20s and lower targets, like 25 and lower. I think those are awful targets, because anything that calls for like mid 20s, 20, 25, 22, anything that calls for a target like that, look at the market structure. Should call for lower, right? So why are you going to pick something in the middle? And I'll tell you why they're doing it. Because they see what's obvious right in front of them. And it is something to consider, but it's one point of confluence. Where is it? There's a gap down here. See me one day. Where's this gap? Oh, here's the gap. Between 26 and 24. This is like basically what everybody's targeting. And, you know, a lot of times a gap can be a place for a market turn, but there's no fucking structure there. There's no market structure. So I think that, yeah, maybe it'll hold you up for a second. But if it hits here, you know, my whole idea changes. Basically, if we significantly break this level, the level that I told you on February, you know, I'm not just shooting from the hip here. If we significantly break this area, and not just on a quick, you know, through and two, now that could happen. But if we significantly break this area and sustain for any amount of real time beneath it, then I'm going to start to wonder if this isn't a 2 at some degree, because, you know, this isn't log scale, but, you know, if this is the 4 at that degree that I showed, now I'm going to take this out of log. Of course, log is important here, but just in real terms, we've already hit the 618. That's super deep freaking 4. Of course, this 2 is so small, but, you know, or is it the 4 of, you know, is this, say, a completed 3? We've gone through the 50 still, right? So, and that's in real terms. Now, if you put this in log, it looks a little different. This Fibonacci retracement tool, and expectations are a little different. And when you have such a great discrepancy between price movements, you know, log is important, but you can't ignore real price action, right? Because, you know, it's already getting it's already getting out of whack a little bit, right? So if it's going to be the fourth degree that, I say, I want this to be the scenario, and I want it to come down, hit this, and get on. Now, if it's the 4 at the larger degree, that's okay. We could get this scenario where maybe the low is internally and we just continue sideways for a while. That would be quite all right. So let's see, because remember, it could be either one of these easily. So this is log. It's hard to draw, but just suffice to say, if it's the 4 at that degree, and we continue on more sideways, I'm okay. I'm quite okay with that. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. I do think that it's uncertain. I think that my leading contender is that we will come down, make a marginally lower low, maybe, get down to 28 range, test that. Maybe we even go fill that gap quickly and then bounce right out. But, I feel like a scenario that gets us down that far rejects at this level and then is more bearish. So kind of hoping that doesn't happen. Look, we're hanging on the daily Vegas waves. You really don't want to fuck about on those for too long. But if we look back in history, this is CME, so we don't have that far. Let's see, jump over to Coinbase quickly. Oh, we're under. We're under on the daily on the Coinbase, so we really don't want to be under for too long. That's a big deal. But if you look back, in the bull runs we do come back and touch, right? Getting below is not exactly the best sign. So, no, we're not in long. But in previous bull runs, we've tested it a lot, right? But we just need to get back above it. Let's just say that. And even if we do, be wary that we don't get a scenario that plays out much more sideways. All right. So primary expectation, just to put a button in this. Still another low. I'm thinking 28 range. That, and then we'll just say there. Something like this. Yeah. But that's ugly. So just trying to draw. I'm no artist, but I do think we come back down here and test this low. The price extreme of the wave 4 of 1 listed degree. Look in your Elliott Wave book. It's important. All right, let's quickly jump over to ES. So in the last video, I think we talked about the low being in here, and I was long. I ended up taking profit over here just because, like I said, whenever you see 3 waves complete, you gotta take notice. And this son of a bitch is gonna put in the standard shallow ES2, I bet, but hopefully it'll come back down, offer another potential entry, and show that this looks corrective to that level and be a nice entry. But so far we've put in either a 1-2, one potential 2 coming in somewhere, or an ABC zigzag complete. If you looked at the primary count previously, you'll see that this is a short 4 down here, right? So you never know with the 5th wave. This is where always areas of uncertainty. So, but if we get a nice corrective into this area, I think it's a great potential for a long. This was a nice corrective. I saw it turn around yesterday, but that's just too shallow for me to buy, personally. But if this turns out to be a flat of some sort to the upside, and then we come down for something like this, I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays. I hate to tell you that, but I can tell you already it doesn't look like a 1-2. So I think that most likely it's going to be bullish and not the completed zigzag, that it's either finished, and you'll have to look for breakout trades on the other side or retraces, whatever, or maybe potentially you might get lucky, come back down here, completed zigzag to that level. That's where I'm at on the ES. So still feeling relatively bullish for now. Gold, it came down here. I mean, I think I've done videos on this, but just to catch you up, came down here, had a potential for a finish move to this level, hit the top of this box that's been there forever. Kind of quickly realized on the move up that this was corrective, and yeah, that we would be destined for another leg down. Came down, double bottom, just below the box, and at that point I was accumulating heavily. And I think that we're on the next bull run for gold. We break this level, and she's going to be on our way. I think that we do have potential to retrace, and that's we already started. So that's where we're at with gold. And with Bitcoin being uncertain and marginally lower to low, after potential move up or continued sideways, remember that. So because when we're going to talk about altcoins, Bitcoin's sort of the tide that you're swimming in, right? The direction of the river. And so right now, immediately, just to be clear, I think that we either continue this way or break this way before breaking this way. So this is sort of your roadmap, right? And of course, there's a chance that it breaks to the upside and then goes up even more, but then it continues sideways internal. But either way, that idea doesn't unsupport the idea that we're about to talk about. And then we're just gonna hit dot real quick, just because there's a lot of alts in the markets that look like this. But basically, we have a case for a potentially completed corrective count, right? And if Bitcoin's going to be potentially sideways, maybe we can look for bullish trade opportunities. So there's a lot of this in the market right now. And whether this is like an A and that we're putting in the B, these are always nice breakout patterns to trade. Let's see, does it meet the conditions we like? Absolutely it does. So, this is one that I think that you could potentially take a long on and target something, that might be aggressive, but really, yeah, that's better. Target something like 34. I don't hate this at all. I like it. So yeah, you can look for bullish trade opportunities in the alts, but be very careful. Just know that, we're kind of fucking about a pivotal area in Bitcoin, and there's no high degree of probability that this bottom is in. But I do think in the interim, either up or sideways, which opens opportunities like this in the alts for the next trade. And that's what we're talking about here with traders. I know hodlers like to watch, but I'm going to talk about from a trading perspective. As a hodler, you know what I say, just keep fucking buying, dollar cost average, and just look back in 10 years. Never put money you can't afford to lose, right? Of course, whether trading or hodling. So, all right, boys. I don't think the energy was that high this week, but that's because I got my kids in the other room, so I don't want to get anybody too excited. But hope you enjoyed that. I think there's a lot of good information in this video, so hopefully some of you guys can take something away from it. All right, boys, and again, congratulations to Fash Raf if you're in the Discord. So yeah, especially free members, just hit him at and say congrats. Dude's a beast, keeps learning. All right, boys, toot out.